The SEC tournament is here, and there's no better place to catch all the action than Boomba's. With wall-to-wall TVs, ice-cooled drinks, and mouth-watering pizza, you won't miss a second of the excitement. Heading to Bridgestone? Swing by Boomba's East Nashville, just minutes away, and boasting the largest TV screen in East Nashville. Bring your ticket stub for a special discount. Whether you're pre-gaming or celebrating a big win, we've got you covered. Boomba's, where every game is a slam dunk.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome into March Madness. Man, it is in full swing right now with all of the tournaments going on. Of course, the SEC at Bridgestone. And in the backdrop is a real weather issue for early tomorrow, extending through virtually the entire day. We're going to be under huge wind stuff. Potential for tornadoes. And all I can think of is 2008 on the 28th floor of the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta when all of that hit. And you remember, it busted a hole in the Georgia Dome roof, and they had to move the tournament to Georgia Tech. And at that point, limited spectators. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, welcome in. A lot of crazy stuff. We got a good show for you. Kelly Holcomb, as is the case every Friday, not with us. He will return on Monday. Billy, how are you?
I'm good. No Kelly. Good show. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
What if I send him that? I mean, that was hardcore.
I'm just kidding. But
I'm not sure you are. I'm pretty certain he's not sure.
Maybe in the early stages. I wouldn't have been kidding, but no.
This is though you're now in fight back mode.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, how about yesterday? I think yesterday might have been the best SEC tournament day ever. I mean, I've only been alive 25 years, probably been watching the SEC tournament for about 20 of them or so. Well, give or take. That has to be up there.
It was crazy. I was there until about 12:15 this morning. Oklahoma just about pulled off a miracle comeback. It was interesting when the big kid, Carr, at Kentucky got triple teamed. It was right in front of me. I was within 3 feet of him. He got absolutely mangled.
They just took the ball from
nothing
him.
Got called. And
they're not calling anything, by the way,
in
these games. But when they do, I'll say this: the officiating hasn't been great.
No, it's a hard job, but trying to figure out
what to call and when to call it.
Calling it tight? Are they letting a lot go? It feels like it's now degrees of fouls.
Yeah,
not necessarily whether it's a foul. You see a lot of bumping. You know, when somebody's on the drive to the bucket, they'll get bumped, no call, because the officials have said it's not to the degree of whatever that we need these days. I don't know. I mean, look, I wouldn't want their job, but this league, not that Greg Sankey thinks or cares what I think. Frankly, I don't care what he thinks. What this league no longer has in the officiating world is 2 superstars. Don Rutledge, John Lockerty. When they took control of a game, that was all she wrote.
Yeah.
And the league does not appear to me to have that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you just never know what's going to be called in these games. But I had a crazy day yesterday in the SEC tournament, and that kicks us off with a March Madness scoreboard update brought to you by Kentucky and Gonzaga. Coming up next basketball season, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets go on sale now. They are on sale already at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. All right, we start with some finals from today in the Conference USA. Liberty beats Kennesaw State 81-79. Liberty will advance to play the winner of MTSU's game. Are they playing right now?
They are playing right now. They've just gone to the half, tied at 35.
Tied at 35 with Jacksonville State. So
hey,
the winner
don't rule them out, Billy.
Well, they got to meet Liberty again. That's what I'm saying here.
Give me Liberty or give me death.
Yeah. But middle in a battle with Jacksonville State right now. If they win, they will play Liberty tomorrow for the Conference USA Championship. And how cool would that be to get middle into the tournament as well, along with Lipscomb and Memphis and Tennessee and Vandy. Also in the A-10, VCU beats St. Bonaventure 76-59. Speaking of Memphis, they held on just barely against Wichita State, who's given them problems this year. The Tigers win 83-80 as they advance in the American Athletic Conference tournament out in Fort Worth. Michigan State takes down Oregon in the Big Ten tournament 74-64. And earlier today, of course, at Bridgestone Arena, Auburn beat Ole Miss 62-57. The Tigers advance to play the winner of Tennessee and Texas, which is going on right now. Tennessee is up in that one 18-14 with just under 12 minutes to play in the first half. So that's what we've got going on right now, and some of the finals, of course, all kinds of action throughout the day today as well. Yesterday, though,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Before you go any farther. Auburn didn't feel like a 1 seed today to me.
Nah. I don't take too much from the SEC tournament. They didn't play great. But I credit Ole Miss and Chris Beard. They muddied that game up, and it's the SEC tournament. You know, I'm going to wait to pass judgment on Auburn in the NCAA tournament. Morgan Wallen in attendance at Bridgestone Arena.
Well, that's wonderful.
But yeah, I mean, look, Auburn hasn't really looked like themselves for a few weeks now. But last night, Kentucky was up by 6 with 41 seconds left. Oklahoma hits a 3. Kentucky turns it over. Then Oklahoma has a fast break dunk. Kentucky turns it over again. Oklahoma drives to the basket to take the lead, courtesy of Jeremiah Fears. Then you had Otega Oweh's game winner. The Cats almost blew it. And Nashville would not have been happy.
No, the economy can use Kentucky staying through Friday. I don't think they're going to beat Alabama.
No.
I don't think Kentucky is at the level. Well, I mean, the way the league has it set up, you know who the top 4 are by way of the standings because they're playing today. Kentucky feels to me like they're a notch below that.
Yeah, they do. And with Lamont Butler out now, it's not looking good for him.
Right.
So without him, their potential doesn't seem to be as high. But, Colin Chandler stepped in, played some point guard last night. They almost blew it, though. Walking out, talking to some Kentucky fans, they were like, we thought we were going to lose. I mean, with 5 seconds left, we did not think we were going to win that game.
No. So with Butler out, Chandler having to play at point guard.
Yep.
I thought he did a really good job for most of the second half, but in that last minute and a half, I mean, it gives you a little bit of cause for pause that Alabama might put a little more pressure on them full court than they might have planned going in.
Well, and, you look at it, Kentucky hasn't won an SEC tournament game since 2019. I think for Kentucky fans, you were going to take that win however you got it.
They were
last night.
They were ecstatic.
Yeah, that was an incredible environment. It's going to be really good tonight again as well. And Tennessee extending their lead over Texas 21-14, about 10 minutes left in the first half there. We'll keep you guys updated. Some college basketball news around the country. Earlier today, Iowa parted ways with head coach Fran McCaffrey.
which is no surprise. This has been rumored now for about a month. There's been kind of a 24-month slippage of that program. Their attendance has fallen considerably. They just have not been what kind of the standard was that McCaffrey had set. I don't know where they're going, but I'll say this. There's some people at schools like Drake and at Bradley who probably deserve a look at Iowa. Again, I don't know where they're going, but that can be a pretty good job.
Well, speaking of coaching searches, hearing some more buzz for Will Wade to NC State as well.
Yeah.
That they met with him yesterday, and this carousel is going to be interesting again this year. You know, we talk about how many moves were made last offseason. You're going to see a good bit this year, it looks like, as well. Minnesota looking for a new head coach. Most likely. And then, you know, New Mexico, Richard Pitino likely on the move. I mean, you would guess, you know, does Indiana,
to see.
You know, does Virginia look at him? So there's been a lot of movement in the coaching world. You mentioned the weather, George, due to the severe weather tomorrow, the SEC, they're supposed to have this party in the park outside, but a lot of the outdoor activities have been either rescheduled or moved to other locations. So tomorrow could get dicey for those days. They start at noon tomorrow.
Noon and in theory 2:30. Yeah. Now
you wonder if they have to push those back at all to night sessions, basically.
You're talking about the games,
but then that gets tough for the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them doing that unless it really gets hairy.
Yeah,
but you know, when we look at all this weather stuff, who's to say it won't?
Well, speaking of getting hairy, it's already getting hairy for the Braves. Earlier today in the Braves spring training game, Austin Riley was hit in the hand with a fastball. He was in clear pain. He left the game, and there's not a whole lot of update on it, but Austin, you just hate it for him.
Wow.
So, but again, I mean, this is not a, you know, it's not an ACL or Tommy John that looks like would take him out for the year.
No, but you remember he missed the playoffs. Remember, they brought in Gio Urshela, former Yankee, who didn't do a half-bad job, but dadgum. How much of this are we going to deal with?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, how many are the Braves able to go a year without having an injury? I mean, that's hard for any team. Every team, but having multiple, you know, killer injuries.
So supposedly, they're going to get Spencer Strider back in late April, and they're going to get Ronald Acuna back in mid to late May. And the belief is that they're really going to be very conservative on Acuna and how much he
plays. As they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, you talk about Riley, you know, I think you could afford to lose Riley as long as Acuna and some of the other guys stay healthy. But man, Acuna, you can't imagine him going down again. We do have some NFL notes. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase will receive over $70 million per year combined when the Bengals finalize their extensions.
Wow.
So Chase and Higgins being retained there, even though the Bengals lost a lot on defense, the defensive line, looks like those two guys will be getting paid. The Cowboys made a move for pass rusher Dante Fowler Jr., who was once, you know, rumored to be a target for the Titans, but he obviously went from Seattle to Dallas now. So Dallas making a move for Dante Fowler, who is, you know, one of the premier pass rushers in the league. Maybe not up there with Bosa, but still a really good pass rusher. So that's what we got in the NFL, but really not a whole lot else going on news-wise. We do have all kinds of college basketball, though.
That's what's dominating right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so 25-22 Tennessee. I'm sitting here looking at it. Make it 28-22. Vols over a Texas team that you would assume would be a little bit tired by now. This would be their third game in 3 days. I cannot imagine going 5 for 5. 5 games in 5 days. It's been done. I just don't know how it's been done.
Yeah, I remember Vandy a couple of years ago. They made their run, played A&M on a Saturday semifinal, and just looked dead. That was their third game in 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that from Texas. It looks like early on a little bit here, and you didn't see it a ton with Ole Miss. I thought Ole Miss really fought in that game against Auburn. They didn't look. Maybe they got gassed late in that game, but yeah, it's hard to go 3-3 even. Much less talking about 5-5. I mean, that takes a Herculean like Kemba Walker UConn type team to do that. I mean, NC State last year, they did it.
Yep.
But I mean, that really does take a different mental mindset. You've got to be a physical team. You've got to have some luck with injuries. And you probably, like with NC State last year, DJ Burns, you probably need a guy kind of like that where you can give it to and say, yeah, and say, go get us a bucket.
Okay, after the break, former Santa Clara head basketball coach, former Vandy and former Tennessee assistant Kerry Keating will join us. At the beginning, we'll get into Cooper Flagg's injury and how much can Duke kind of in that first week do without him. We'll get Kerry's thoughts when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at BridgestoneArena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Happy game day, Preds fans. The Predators begin a Southern California road back-to-back tonight at 9 o'clock in Anaheim against the Mighty Ducks. Radio pregame coverage begins at 8 before Pete Weber and Hal Gill have the call at 9.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back. A couple of thoughts about storms. First, there is a Chaz Lanier storm. He has scored something like 17 of Tennessee's first 29, and the Vols lead the University of Texas 29-22, about 7 minutes left in the first half down at Bridgestone. The real storm looks like it will get in here in the morning, somewhere between 1 and 4 a.m. So be careful out there with whatever it is you're doing. Now, Kerry Keating has thrown me a curveball. He told me he'd be on by phone. Next thing I know, he's in a car. Hello, Professor.
We're like officially arrived now. Like, this is what the big time guys do, right? They call from the car. Like, like we're mobile. We're really mobile now. We're not just calling in audio here. We're video all the time, baby.
Okay. I love your spirit. So if I said to you the Iowa Hawkeyes job is open, and it is there an obvious in your mind person that's the leader in the clubhouse?
Well, I think everyone's going to point to Ben McCollum at Drake. Obviously, from what he's done, it's been a meteoric rise if he does get that, obviously coming from Division II. But just what he was able to do by taking 4 of his own players from Division II and even having the ability that he'll have way more at Iowa if, in fact, it is him to go out and pay for other players, if you will. I think he's just a good coach. I think, places like Iowa have historically really valued really good coaches. I think you'd find a lot of noise for Ben to be that guy.
And don't they have to? Because it seems to me that the level of athlete that Iowa's gotten is a step below the top tier of the Big Ten.
Well, the days of Roy Marble doing cartwheels on top of basketballs are certainly over. I'm dating myself there. We old school guys remember Roy Marble. I think Iowa's resourced. Obviously, it's a unique job. I think ones that require a little bit of thought. Ben certainly seems to have that type of acumen on the basketball court, and being in that part of the country now and having had a great season, and making Drake look like Gonzaga. And that you can just plug and play and just don't screw it up. But any job now, George, as you know, that finds itself in an economic stratosphere of the Power 4 plus Big East conferences, if you have a chance to do that, you have to do it. I mean, you have to. So Iowa will certainly compete with that. Obviously, they'll have to figure out how much of their salary cap goes towards the new coach, but I tend to think they'll value a guy with great coaching acumen more than just a little bit of street smarts to be able to put money on the table.
Give me some thoughts here. Yesterday, the basketball world kind of got rocked by Cooper Flagg's injury, and John Shire kind of put it out there that, look, it would really take something for him to play in this ACC tournament, and really they haven't said a whole lot else. Kerry, I don't pretend to know a ton about ankle sprains other than they hurt like the devil, and I had 3 or 4 of them when I was in college, and it drove me crazy. Can Duke survive the first week of the NCAA tournament if they don't have him?
I think so. I think they're deep enough to do that. They certainly can survive the first round, and obviously those 8-9 games can be tricky. And I tell you, they may be even trickier this year because you might find an SEC team in that 8-9 spot, right? And we know that they've had success with that in the past. I think 1 year Ole Miss was an 8-9 seed and beat a 1 seed. I can't remember which year that was, but I do recall them being in that. You just always remember those 8-9 seeds. I think the depth of the Big Ten and the SEC at the bottom of their pool, if you will, of those 25 teams from those two conferences could present a bigger second round challenge, and maybe even more so than a Sweet 16 game might, because those Sweet 16 games become upset games. 4-13s and 5-12s are the ones that the 1s and 2s may see down the road. You read my mind, because I thought for sure they'll shut him down for this tournament, right? He's not going to play anymore. Whether he plays in the first game, probably not necessary. Second game is going to be interesting. I think that second game will be a very interesting call. 1, to see if he's healthy, and 2, what the matchup may call for. But they're deep enough. Knipple really proved last night that he's got a little bit more in his bag that maybe Cooper Flagg had utilized exclusively. 28 points and 8 assists, 1 turnover. And although he's not as athletic as Flagg, he certainly is capable. And if they can get Isaiah Evans shooting the ball well and keep the other guys healthy, they'll be fine through the first weekend of the tournament.
Isn't it also maybe, besides the fact that, you don't want to play him in this tournament and risk anything worse, wouldn't it also be to Duke's benefit to play a game or two without him and find out, okay, what are we capable of doing, against a really good ACC opponent if we don't have him?
Well, they're going to find out against Carolina, but they kind of already found out a little bit in their finale against Carolina because he got into foul trouble. Right? And that was kind of the first time in a game where they, as John referenced after the game, they were hunting instead of being the hunted. And although it was a small sample size, a very small sample size, it was on the road. This will be obviously a big one because it's a neutral site. And obviously in Charlotte, it's probably a mixed bag of support in there between Duke and Carolina. But, yeah, you always learn more. It's just opportunities for them to develop the depth. The biggest beneficiary, as I said, being Knipple as a ball handler and playmaker potentially in that big forward spot is Isaiah Evans. Isaiah Evans has always been their, kind of quiver that they've had, that arrow in the quiver where they can pull him out because he's a 6'6", prototypical athletic wing, and he can really shoot the ball. And that's something, obviously, that helps out the rest of the team, and it gets Proctor unloaded a little bit too. But they're deep enough, as long as they're healthy in other spots, to survive without him. And you got it. You know how it is, George. Whether he's hurt or not, he's going to potentially run in. That's the biggest derailment for heavily favored teams in the tournament is times that you haven't experienced before. And normally what that means is foul trouble. You get different type of officials, different type of games, different type of styles. You're not used to it. You catch a hot team, you get a bad matchup. So yeah, they'll come out benefiting from this one way or the other. And if that means that they have a little bit of struggle and maybe even don't win this, because I think Clemson has already proven obviously they can beat them. I think Clemson, if they play well against Louisville and keep that going, has every much of a chance to beat a Cooper Flagg-less team, given they've already beaten Cooper Flagg and at full strength in Littlejohn. Clemson could be the team that could finally get off the schneid and win their first ACC tournament as a result of this.
Is it in your mind 100% certain that if Carolina loses tonight, they're out? Or do you see the committee playing they're a big name to keep out? What do you think happens there?
I referenced this. I'm not sure if we talked about this last time, but I talked about it on a different show last week that Stu Jackson, who's a commissioner of the WCC, kind of let a little bit of the cat out of the bag in an interview with Andy Katz a couple weeks ago by referencing how important it was for people to play people. And I'm not sure if that carries overall weight, but this may be a case where it doesn't matter what your Q1 record was as long as you played as many of those games outside of your conference. Obviously, there's Q1 1 through 14 in the SEC, which has resulted in Auburn playing an ungodly amount of Q1 games. I think Carolina gets in even if they lose tonight. I think because of the schedule they set up, even though they lost those games, let's face it, the fact that they're even in this position to begin with speaks volumes about how weak this bubble is. Because if it had any strength to it, this wouldn't even be a conversation, even though they won 20 games. This is why Wake Forest isn't in the tournament. Wake Forest finished a spot ahead of Carolina in the ACC. Wake Forest didn't play the same schedule, yet they've kind of been lingering on the bubble the whole time. But the reason that they're not in a stronger position as Carolina is because their non-conference strength of schedule is nowhere near Carolina. So, even though they took care of business and beat them and kind of ended that debate head-to-head, I still think you're going to find Carolina probably right as that last team in. If anything, they're the first team out. The interesting part about it is if they're the first team out, they're going to have their own AD stating as much after the selection show is over because he's the head of the committee.
Won't that be interesting?
Turnabout's fair play if you want to take that job, but we'll see how much weight he really carries, even though he's not supposed to be in the room.
No, I liked it. Looked at the camera when he did that.
It's a very, very, very interesting dynamic. I obviously win tonight. They're definitely in. This all goes back to me, guys, that of the net rating and how much weight that they're going to put in that data set. All these different data sets that they use that dissect this, that, and the other, and efficiencies and schedules and everything. Their net rating is in the 30s right now. Yes, the strength of that is because of the schedule they played. And did they win 14 ACC games? Yes. Is it a crappy ACC by comparison year to year? Yes. But at least they're in position to be in position. Look, they can end all that doubt tonight with a win, but I still think they'll find themselves in, especially because some of those other teams that are lingering lost. I think the Nebraska one was huge. Nebraska not making the conference tournament probably in the end may have helped Carolina in hindsight than anything else because they had 5 quad 1 wins. They're just in a conference that was so good they couldn't even make their own conference tournament, which is crazy that they made their conference tournament, they might have made the NCAA tournament. By not qualifying for their conference tournament, it may have bit them that they may not now. How can you go on and say that a team made the NCAA tournament that didn't even qualify for their conference tournament? Nebraska pretty close to doing that.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Kerry, we're going to have at 4:00 Brad Logan, who covers Ole Miss and is really wired to that. In your opinion, is Chris Beard the obvious for Indiana?
Well, Rick Pitino seems to think so. I didn't realize that Rick Pitino was doubling as an agent for Chris Beard while he's also doubling as an agent for his own team. He came out in full support of him. Look, the guy took Texas Tech to the Final Four. He obviously has done a great job at Ole Miss. I think this is a guy that if you know who can coach, can really coach. I wouldn't say it's an obvious one, but I certainly think there'll be one that there'll be overtures and he'll be involved. I mean, Indiana's a job that should be in the top of the Big Ten every year. If he can do that with Texas Tech and take them to the Final Four and coach them like that, obviously we'll see what happens, in the future if he stays at Ole Miss and becomes a more viable candidate for a bigger job. But it certainly sounds like he's involved, and it certainly sounds like people think he'll be a good fit there. I know Mick Cronin would say otherwise. There's a couple of guys that would die to get back to the Midwest, and Mick's certainly one of them, it sounds like. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these things shake out. And it's certainly not over. Some of these ADs are making reactions to where they're hiring people before their season's over and making them miss the rest of the conference tournament. Jay Lucas leaving his team to go coach a la football in the bowl game. It's a crazy time right now to be hiring and to be hired. It'll be interesting to see how these guys go about, their short-term planning and how many guys really have a medium-term plan to really develop the portal the right way for long-term success.
Okay, let me try this one on you. People love playing this kind of game, and you're a basketball junkie. Let's be honest. You watch a lot of it. I watch a lot of it. Both of us even know what CBS Sports Network is, which means we watch stuff like the Mountain West. Is there a team in that conference that you say to yourself when you see them, that's a Sweet 16 team?
Well, the metrics wouldn't support that. When you look at that from an offensive, to me, the Sweet 16 teams are extremely balanced and have a chance to beat multiple teams. that play multiple styles. That's why you saw San Diego State emerge, because they're so strong defensively. I think New Mexico and San Diego State, and to a lesser extent, a team like Colorado State, although, it's hard to break through now with the amount of talent and older talent at the higher levels once you get to that second weekend, a la 26 and 27-year-olds at Auburn, if you will. Anytime that Brian Dutcher is going to have the type of athletes he can get at San Diego State, they're going to have a chance. And I think Richard's done a good job winning 20 or more 3 years in a row at New Mexico. And New Mexico has traditionally had kids from the West Coast that are a little bit overlooked that can score the ball. Those two teams, to me, kind of stick out as having the chances you can find in the second weekend.
Yeah. I want to see where that conference goes. I watch a lot of it. That kid, Clifford at Colorado State, I watched him a week ago tear Boise apart. I like that league. It doesn't get a lot of play nationally, but I think there's some pretty good basketball there.
Well, you know what they're the biggest beneficiary of, Georgia, is there's not as much population, if you will, of high-level conferences. And now that you've had the Pac-12 kind of disperse and, Gonzaga lingers in the West Coast Conference, if you're surgical about it, you can get players out there. This is one thing that we tried to protect when I was at UCLA, is to make sure we kept the best West Coast kids at UCLA and didn't have them just run for the East Coast. The East Coast is obviously so overpopulated with not just conferences and schools and kids, but there's so much to choose from. I think in the Mountain West, with guys that have a good mindset, Brian certainly does San Diego State. Nico is a very well-respected coach at Colorado State, and obviously what Richard's done at New Mexico. You're always going to have really good kind of off-the-radar West Coast kids that deserve to be in the pack. I mean, look, there's no greater example of that than Kawhi Leonard ended up going to San Diego State. Paul George was at Fresno State. Damian Lillard, not in the Mountain West, but he was in the Big Sky. Like, there are kids out there. I think historically the West Coast has been a very under-evaluated league by the coaches on the West Coast.
Okay, let me try this one. Then we'll go to the commercial break. Billy Derrick will take over. If I said to you, Kerry, give me the number of teams this year that are capable of winning the national title, what is the number you'd give me back?
Well, I think the easy answer would be almost a dozen, but I really think it's about 5. I think at the end of the day, we're going to find out. I think it's going to be a fantastic tournament, but I think it's just setting up to have some really, really high level Elite Eight and Final Four games. And if barring a crazy run by a certain team that just gets hot or catches a few upsets early on and breaks through, I think you only have about really 5 teams that can really get it done and run that gauntlet. Obviously Duke and Auburn, and I think Florida is one of them too. There's defensive toughness and coaches that can possibly find their way, but there's probably, in the end of the day, only 5 that can really do it.
So you would not have St. John's in that group that could win it all?
No, I wouldn't, because offensively they're abysmal. I mean, defensively they're going to muck it up and they can really guard and really rebound, but they can't score. Once they run into a team that can defend on the same level, and they will at some point, they're probably talented enough and energized enough, obviously, with the way they play and obviously how Coach Pitino goes about it, to get to maybe Sweet 16 Elite Eight. I can't see them making the Final Four unless they catch a break. Unless the 1 seed in their region gets upset, I just don't see them winning at all. Final Four, outside shot, but probably not one of the teams I'd say would win it all.
Okay, after the break, we'll get you another March Madness scoreboard update. And then, Billy, you're on the clock with the traveling man, Professor Kerry Keating. Where are you, by the way? I just called you Keating. I don't know why.
I'm on the road to Charlotte right now. We're heading out to Charlotte tonight.
Okay, so not singing on the road. Okay.
No. My singing career is on hold until I get back to Nashville.
Okay, we'll go to the break on that. This is 94.9, The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today. PancoastBenefits.com or call them at 615-292-3400. JB's Poorhouse in Hermitage has one of the best sports bar setups around, and it'll play host to the George Plaster Show on Thursday, March the 20th. That's the first full day of March Madness. Large TVs, great hoops, terrific food, and friendly service. It's what JB's Poorhouse is all about. See you on March 20th for a day full of what I call adult spring break.
All right, it's time for another March Madness Scoreboard update. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We all needed that.
Yeah, I'm sure we did.
Right now,
Kerry just ran off the road.
Right now, MTSU trails Jacksonville State 55-48, 8:22 to play in that one. So the Blue Raiders were tied at the half, now trail by 7 against Jacksonville State. The winner will play Liberty tomorrow in the Conference USA title. At the half, down at Bridgestone Arena, Tennessee leading Texas 41-38. The winner will play Auburn in the semifinal tomorrow. 18th ranked Wisconsin all over UCLA in the Big Ten tournament, 83-57, 3:27 to play in that one. A few notable finals from earlier today. Liberty, as I mentioned, took down Kennesaw State 81-79. Will play for the title tomorrow. VCU beats St. Bonaventure 76-59 in the A10 quarterfinal. Memphis just barely hung on against Wichita State 83-80 in the AAC. Michigan State with a big win over Oregon In the Big Ten, 74-64. Auburn takes down Ole Miss 62-57. All right. Let's keep it rolling with Kerry. Why don't we?
Well, I thought he ran off the road when I started whistling. Looks like he's back, though. Looks like he's got it under control.
I think he's back.
Billy just gave us the Portal Invitational update scores because all of those scores are relevant only to the teams that are finishing this weekend as to which one of those players will not be at those schools next year.
Something funny,
money someplace else.
Something funny. Speaking of the portal, by the way, I was, looking through some stats in past SEC seasons, and ESPN actually, if you go back a few years ago, they changed some players' logos next to their name. Like one of them, Keyshawn Bryant, for example, has a USF logo next to his name, but it was an SEC. He was in the SEC at the time, but they've already switched it because he's still playing. So with all these extra years and the transfer portal, you're starting to see some of that, which is funny.
Is he 30 years old?
He's got to be 24 at least. I mean, if that was 3-4 years ago. But Kerry, I want to ask about the importance of conference tournaments. All the left and right this week, I'm hearing, well, they don't matter. That's why they played bad. But if they win, it's like, yeah, we want to go hang a banner. Like, as a coach, how and it's probably different. Like for Rodney Terry in Texas, it's probably slightly different for Rick Barnes in Tennessee. But as a coach, how would you approach a conference tournament? And I know there's different situations, but just kind of gauge that for us. Because we know it's different for every team.
Yeah, as it relates to obviously to what you're talking about, the at-large possibles, right? Because we know what the conference tournaments mean to those one-and-done type conferences that are playing throughout the week and maybe on the weekends. I think it's just a matter of year to year of where you're at. Some teams, I hate to say that it wouldn't matter because from the competitive nature, you want every game to matter. And when we had the best teams that we had at UCLA, we wanted to win the Pac-12 tournament. We wanted to go in with good momentum, or at least be playing well. I think that it can kind of steamroll on you if you're not playing well. I'll use an example. Our second year at UCLA, our second of the 3 Final Fours, we had won the regular season on the road in our first of 2 games on the Washington trip at Washington State. And that was our goal the whole year. Like Ben would tell the players, if we win the Pac-10 regular season, we're going to get a top 1 or 2 seed, depending on whatever else surrounds that. It ended up being a 2 seed in hindsight. But we lost at Washington the next 2 days later. And we just kind of felt like, okay, we accomplished something, it was over. And then we lost in the first round as the 1 seed to the 8 seed at the time in Cal. And we went into that NCAA tournament on thin ice. We were not in a good place. The players were tired. It was a long season. They had accomplished a goal that was kind of, premature. It almost caught us. We had to kind of rally and regroup a little bit before we got to the NCAA tournament to make sure we had our ducks in a row. It's a precarious thing to say, especially nowadays where players have access to everything that you say immediately as a coach to say, this doesn't matter that much. I think it's all, Billy, a matter of the makeup of your team. I mean, if it's me, I want to be playing as much as we can. I think obviously you look at the case of keeping health of paramount importance too. You run the risk that maybe it's not overall important for a league like the SEC other than maybe Texas to get that 14th bid. The dynamics change year to year, and I'm really curious that you bring that up, how that gets attended to in the future of what's going to become a professional organization. Do we really need a tournament before the tournament now? And is the tournament going to change in how they take teams in? And do they have automatic bids when now conferences are now kind of going by the wayside? It may skew the numbers as such that it may answer its own question. They may not even be existing anymore pretty soon.
George, you mentioned I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit here. You mentioned the Indiana opening. There was an interview with Omar Ballo a couple of days ago, Indiana player. I don't know if you saw that, Kerry. He had mentioned that he was receiving DMs in his Twitter with death threats, and because they lost to Oregon, terrible. I think it was.
Yeah.
And now Indiana probably not getting into the tournament. I mean, I think we knew that was a foregone conclusion a few weeks ago until they went on this run. But is the Indiana job, does a coach look at that now and go, kind of like Tennessee football for a little bit there, George, as we know, does a potential coach look at that and go, I don't know if I want to step right into that fire?
If the same amount of money can be bet on the Kennesaw-Jacksonville game, it doesn't matter, because half of those things are coming from guys that are losing money by gambling on it, to be quite honest with you, to be blunt. I mean, that whole dynamic really has been, in my mind, under discussed or not discussed enough. I mean, that's a factor in having access to these kids through direct messages. Like, I remember when Twitter first started in 2007, we weren't sure if we should allow the kids to go on there, what they should say, and if the coaches were at odds because they didn't want to take things away from the kids. That may be a part of what their social life was, but then you're opening up the door to people you don't want to have access to your program. Well, here we are now, 18 years later, and it's open season for everybody. You can slide into DMs left, right, and center with everybody as long as they're on. And for some of these kids, they don't even pay attention to it until the negative stuff starts coming in, right? That's the psychological nature of it. That just happened at Kansas a couple weeks ago too. With Zeke Mayo. I mean, I think that as a coach, you really have to be aware and conscious of really sheltering your players from the outside entity that doesn't matter. And if you don't filter that, then I think if you're paying attention to it, you're asking for it, because you're always going to have, Indiana or not, there may be more of it. There may be more scrutiny to that because people have pride in it, not just the gamblers. You have the pride in the blue blood programs, and there's a lot more of those numbers available. But you really have to make sure your players are aware of that and not letting them affect how they think or certainly how they play.
You mentioned the betting on ESPN. Saw a piece, an estimated $3 billion is expected to be bet on this year's March Madness, both on the men's and women's side. And we've seen stories. We've talked about the probes that we've seen throughout this season with programs like North Carolina A&T, and I mean small programs, but this is going on everywhere. And Kelly always jokes about it because I brought it up. He said, "Billy, this has been going on forever. It's just now coming to light." How much do you think this? How much more do you think this will come to light? And do you think it comes to a head at some point?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, especially now that the amateur side of it is becoming professionalized. Had a conversation today with a couple coaches here in town, getting ready for their tournament, and even the coaches that are paying these players, and I think we mentioned this on one of our past conversations when Rick Barnes brought up, "Hey, we're paying you." I don't know if it was Ziegler. I'm not sure who he said it to. Like, we're paying you to make that shot. Like, there's a give and take with this. It's not just take all the money and go play. And if you're hurt, like, there's got to be some form of accountability in this. And I think when you have a divide like that, and they're still going to salary cap this thing, you're still going to have $21 million. You're going to have the football guys taking the lion's share of that. Women and the men are going to have some. But it sounds like the going rate for the men from a salary cap is anywhere from $5 to $7 million. It sounds like the men's coaches at the high level feel like $7 million is going to be, although it's not going to be even across the board. That's what the playing field may present to you. Well, if you're in that locker room and you know that, and you know what guys are getting paid, because the kids all talk about it, heck, it's probably public knowledge half the time anyway. You're trying to find a way. Money is still that root of evil, and because of that accessibility, Billy, we don't have to go to Vegas to go watch the first two rounds now while being able to gamble on it. We can do that anywhere. We can do that wherever DraftKings and FanDuel are available and legal. You don't have to make that travel out to Vegas anymore. And the thing that's amazing to me is, and I haven't been on this side of it or really taken this conversation with the coaches that I know, is what we used to have these wacky seminars they'd make the kids go through. The NCAA would produce, really badly produced, don't bet on it. And you'd have to get the kids together, check the box that they watched.
We lost Kerry.
Did we just lose him there?
No, he's back. He's back. Well, we thought he was back.
See if they're on DraftKings.
Okay. Go wherever you were going for a second. Again.
Yeah, like do you have to as a coach, you almost have to scrub phones to make sure that they don't have DraftKings and FanDuel and the fantasy downloaded, because it's accessible and it's legal in most of these states now. It's really, really hard. It was hard before, and I don't know. Did you guys catch the part about the don't bet on it? The production that the NCAA's put together. Yeah, that was really stellar. That deterred a lot of people. Yeah. Like that checked the box. That we did that. But now you really have to have some really hard discussions and really deep discussions with your players, and especially the ones that aren't getting the lion's share of money, because they have inside knowledge. They know what's going on. They know about injuries. Like, they know about what guy's breaking up with his girlfriend, what guy may be sick. I mean, they have the insider knowledge, but they don't have to share it anymore. They can just go on and throw a couple shekels on a game, and next thing you know, oh, I got this, and now I'll multiply. Now it's very, very difficult in this day to monitor that. You have to be really upfront and honest with your kids, but you also have to have some level of scrutiny that that they need to be able to show you what they have access to.
Kerry, this was very impressive. Driving while talking. It now looks like you've stopped, although I can't swear.
We are making a pit stop, so I'm not violating too many of my past overtures. I'm not texting, just talking, so there's nothing wrong with that. And occasionally looking to see what my counterparts are responding to is nothing wrong with that. I always appreciate the ability to come on and chat with you guys.
Hey, thanks for doing
Kerry.
this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Kerry Keating joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is, by the way, where the ACC tournament is going on right now.
Big one there tonight.
Yes. After the break, we'll go stat of the day. We'll get you the SEC scores. Our next March Madness scoreboard update will be at 4:20. And after stat of the day, Brad Logan will join us to talk Ole Miss athletics, and in particular, is Chris Beard out of there? This is 94.9 The Fan.
The game is on the road as the SEC tournament continues in Nashville. Join us live from the pub in the Gulch from 9 to 6 p.m. Come watch some of the games with all of us. Your sports live here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale.
Which factory? From where?
Family Leisure has truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Really? Like what?
Well, spas for one. All the new model spas are here and on sale from Artesian, Catalina, and American Select Spas, as low as $29.99.
Okay.
Family Leisure is getting all their new patio furniture styles. Hanneman, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale. And there are still a lot of floor models left to sell at ridiculous prices. The guaranteed largest selection and lowest prices in the Mid-South.
Now, that's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pools. 24-foot pools starting as low as $29.99 installed. And solid wood slate pool tables are only $19.99 as well.
That means the grills, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
Of course. Family Leisure even has the huge Diamond Point Play system for only $24.99 installed.
Even the massage chairs, theater seating are on sale.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's factory direct sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin. The Electronic Express tax refund sale is going on now. Get up to 40% off in every department, including 4K TVs, computers and accessories, Bluetooth headphones, furniture, and more. Plus, we have all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. And buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com with express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
This is Freddie and Harry.
Josh Allen has earned this with this contract moving forward. It is not about how many MVPs he can win. It is not about how many regular season wins or the stats that he can put up. It's about, can you win the Super Bowl? He has so much pressure on him to win a Super Bowl, even more now, than a boyfriend when his ex-girlfriend, when they've been together 5 years, has asked him, when do we get married?
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Amber and Ian.
They're trying to save money, it seems, especially on the defensive side, and you have to assume it's because, they're going to pay Brock Purdy.
Or that they're not going to overpay Brock Purdy because they're in this position where they're making a bunch of moves. I mean, I think you could argue that either way, frankly, like that they're not going to overpay Brock Purdy because right now they're basically retooling.
Well, no, if it's overpay Brock Purdy, then they're just, it doesn't have to be overpaid.
Amber and Ian. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on Sirius XM Channel 80.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Coming up, we're talking with Brad at Logan from Inside the Rebels. Get the scoop on what happened earlier today against Auburn down at Bridgestone Arena. Talk a little Chris Beard. But first stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, here's what we got today. If Joe Lunardi is right, the SEC might get a record 13 or 14 teams into the NCAA tournament, which currently holds the record. Which conference currently holds the record for most teams into the NCAA tournament? And bonus points if you could name how many teams that conference sent.
It's the Big Ten, and I think it's 11. Go ahead and go with that.
It's actually the Big East.
Dadgummit.
A little too quick to the trigger.
Really? Wow.
I didn't realize it was 11. Wow.
That's a bunch.
That is a lot. And quite a while ago, too. I mean,
yeah.
Outside the NIL portal era.
Okay, let's go live to Bridgestone Arena. In fact, just outside the arena, where, looky there, the best-dressed media member today at the arena is Brad Logan from Inside the Rebels. Man, your team played tough, close but no cigar.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great seeing you guys yesterday and catching up. And hey, look, Auburn is the number 3 ranked team in the country for a reason. They played really good today, and both Chris Beard and of course Bruce Pearl talked about this specific game and what Ole Miss couldn't do offensively, frankly. When you shoot the basketball, you're 37% from the floor. At one point, they were only 30% and finished 17% from the floor from 3, only making 4 out of 23. That was the tale of the tape. And the good news is there is life after this loss to Auburn for Ole Miss. They'll await the NCAA selection process. On Sunday, there'll be a party in Mississippi back in Oxford at a local establishment where Chris Beard will meet with the media. We just received information. He will meet with the media following that event, so we'll be there to cover that. But this is a situation to where there was a question asked in the press conference about this team specifically as a whole. And Chris Beard made mention of the practices that this team put together during the summer, and he felt the team was getting better and better with each practice. So I think the level of surprise, if you will, about this team being as good as they've been, not so much by Chris Beard, and very, very complimentary of his squad. And I'll say this, you guys heard this too, Bruce Pearl, really complimentary of Chris Beard and this Ole Miss basketball team. The question before about the teams and the record and all of that, I will say this, Bruce Pearl met with the media following the win today over Ole Miss, and he said that the SEC deserves 14 teams, and he pretty much filibustered and gave the reasons why. I thought they were really good reasons, and I think the SEC is probably going to get 14 in. Maybe they leave a team out, but I do not think it drops below 13.
Brad, talk to us a little bit about Chris Beard and why he is so good, because everywhere he's been, wins follow him. It's clear that he's very hard-nosed, and it's clear that his teams play defense. But you see him a lot closer than we do. Tell us about him.
Well, what was interesting today is I said on an interview I gave early this morning, this Ole Miss basketball team under Chris Beard never gets too high and it never gets too low. Now, obviously, they were disappointed by losing the game today. They were really low when they lost a couple of weeks ago to Mississippi State at home, where they just quite frankly didn't show up. But the team pretty much under Chris Beard has stayed pretty level-headed. And he said all along he wants this to be a 16 to 18 round fight. And that's where the chips fall where they may at the end of the season. And I think it's a really nice graphic there of Indiana I see through in there. And so you take a look at where the team is right now. He's saying this is March. This is our trip to March. We're just fortunate enough to carry it on to the NCAA tournament. But this basketball team has been one that, like I said, it may surprise teams around the country, but it didn't surprise Chris Beard whenever they played so well down the stretch. Just they had wide open look today, guys. Y'all watched the game just like I did.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss theoretically is going to shoot roughly 32% from three. Many of those throughout the year have been contested. Tonight, they just missed wide open buckets. I think the play of the game, not the broom play at the end. I frankly think the play of the game when Juju Murray had a top of the key three to put Ole Miss within three. He misses. Auburn gets the rebound, goes to the length of the floor, slams it, gets fouled, and all of a sudden you look up and Auburn's up 9. The ball game's over. So that was a big stretch. It's kind of indicative of how the offensive game plan was going for Ole Miss. Just couldn't make any baskets today.
Brad, in your opinion, how much will all these SEC teams that are going to get in, whether it's 13, 14, whatever, benefit from the fact that they won't at least early be playing each other with the scouting reports where, you know, Team A knows what Team B's doing before Team B knows?
Well, George, you and Billy know as well as anybody, you guys cover college baseball. What we're going to have is basically a scaled-down version of the College World Series in Omaha. Whenever the SEC would get anywhere from 4 to 5 teams in that conference or in that national championship, you're going to have to face teams much quicker than you would in a normal fashion because of 13 teams. So if you're looking at it from, say, the entire encapsulation, you see the graphic, of everybody that's in the SEC, I've seen some Lenardi brackets that have 3 teams in some regionals, 4. In one particular slice of the bracket. So we're going to see a lot of crossover, if you will. I don't think there's any way to avoid that. Some people may say that it may be a bias that you want to have so many SEC teams and trying to eliminate them to get to a Final Four. Here's the thing. With that many teams, there's no bias whatsoever. That's just a lot of teams you're going to have to go through to get to your ultimate goal. We saw a team today, I think, gentlemen, that should be playing for a Final Four. And if Jani Broome plays like he played today, which I have no doubt that he will, Auburn could win the national championship. And it could not happen to a guy that puts more into his program than Bruce Pearl does. I mean, he was just talking about the game and how proud he was of his players in the press conference. He starts tearing up. I mean, it means so much to him to just talk about these different players, about how they're becoming good men, but understanding in the world of NIL, it's a new game. You know, Jani Broome said, look, I played for the name on the front of my jersey and the name on the back of my jersey. I thought that was a very fair answer when this whole world of NIL. But basically, Bruce Pearl echoed that by saying, you know, if someone asked about his son and being a huge part of this program, and Bruce said, look, we want to win every game, not just for us, not for me. He said, my faith is where it needs to be. Talking about pressure and winning, he said, I feel really good about where I am, where our team is, but we want to win for Auburn University, and we want to win for the SEC. So he is a big conference guy. He talked a lot about how much, we talked at the top of the interview here talking about Chris Beard. He was very complimentary of Beard and Ole Miss, but Bruce Pearl's a good one, and I really enjoyed his interviews, and I don't get to cover him on a regular basis, but he's a lot of fun, and he's someone that is good for this conference.
You're absolutely right about that. So yesterday when we sat down and kind of talked through all of this about Beard and Indiana, you surprised me a little bit with your thoughts about the Ole Miss basketball job. Number one, do you think he's going to Indiana?
I don't know, George. I don't know what the level of interest is with Chris Beard in Indiana. That was a large part of the talk in the kind of the table discussions that you and I and Billy shared yesterday. There's not been a lot of Chris Beard to Indiana talk. But I'll be honest, there's been a lot of talk of Chris Beard could go here, here, and here. He's winning over a lot of people. At one point during the game this afternoon, I looked over and he was fist pumping and clapping. It was after a missed bucket. And I thought that was interesting because he felt so good about his team. He knows that if they play with that amount of effort, they're in games like this when you only shoot 21%. I'm not so sure he goes to Indiana, but I don't think Ole Miss, obviously, is an upper echelon job in the SEC. I think it maybe can be. When Andy Kennedy was coaching Ole Miss a a few years ago, had to play in the Taft-Smith Coliseum, George, and that thing was built in the 1960s. That's the only place that's ever had a rain delay for a college basketball game, to the best of my knowledge. And that's true. The pavilion. The
only place that had a water fountain
on the floor
at courtside.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, but look, Keith Carter and Dr. Glenn Boyce, and of course Keith's the athletic director and Dr. Boyce is the chancellor. They're all in with this basketball program. And now, I think two things can be true. Number one, this is not the greatest job in the conference, but also can be true, it can be much better than it is. As long as they have all the buy-in from the NIL, all the buy-in from the fan base, I think it's going to be a really good job. And I think as long as Chris Beard is head coach of Ole Miss, it's going to continue to edge up the job in the Southeastern Conference.
Okay, I know it's by the way, it's very windy out there, as you all can tell. Does he have any gripes about NIL money? I mean, football, we hear a lot of things about Lane Kiffin in NIL. Does Beard have what he needs?
The thing about what Chris Beard has, he has a great arena. And I know for a fact that there is a very competitive NIL budget for basketball. Now, does he want more? Is there more coming? I don't know that. But I know that Walker Jones and the Grove Collective have been very, upright or upfront about how important men's and women's basketball is, how important baseball is, and of course, everyone knows that Ole Miss is a football school. So I do think there are some areas that Chris Beard and the program can grow in that NIL space. But I think right now it's very competitive. And I think we see the talent on the floor. That Ole Miss has been really good with its resources. They're going to have to completely retool their roster. They knew that coming into this season because basketball is really like our John Calipari Kentucky's from years ago, one and done. And that's a lot of what's going on across the SEC. But, yeah, I do think Ole Miss is in a much, much better position now than it has been in the past.
Okay, I guess it's me zeroing in on Indiana, but you kind of threw it out there. What other schools do you think are really probably zeroing in on him?
Yeah, I don't know that we saw today that Iowa head coach Fran McCafferty was released, if you will. I've seen some hot boards. I don't know if his name would come up there. The good news for Ole Miss is the more they win, the bigger their NIL budget's going to be, and they've got something to build upon for the future. The bad news, I guess you could look at it this way, George, is that's more exposure for Chris Beard on the national stage. We know his pedigree, and we know what he's capable of doing specifically at Texas Tech. And I take you back to the press conference yesterday, and I encourage anyone, if they want to go to our Twitter/X account at Brad Logan COTE, I reposted the question and the answer, and he's basically bodied the reporter, but he did it in a really respectful way by saying, we've won everywhere we've been. So it really doesn't matter if it's Ole Miss, if it's Kentucky, if it's Wichita State. Chris Beard's a winner, and he's going to win. I think Ole Miss is in a good position, though. If people come calling, they'll have an absolute response ready, both financially and a contract, whatever it needs to be. Keith Carter, former All-SEC forward for Ole Miss, the athletic director, he will not be blindsided by this. If Chris Beard's name gets talked about, comes up with job openings, but I like the chances of Chris Beard staying at Ole Miss, considering how well they've done this year in the NIL space.
Okay, first of all, Billy, anything you want to throw out at Brad?
No, I mean, Brad, what do you, I know we touched on it a little bit, but what is Ole Miss's potential in the NCAA tournament? I know we've looked at where Lenardi has them. He's got them right now as a 5 seed. What do you think their potential is in March?
I'll go back to what Bruce Pearl said in the press conference. I thought it's very simple, but it's so true. 2 things win championships in college basketball: making shots, playing really good defense. Now, that sounds very elementary, but if you don't make shots and you are 4 of 23 from 3 and you only shoot 30%, you better darn well play really good, solid defense to stay in the game. If you put 2 of those things together, I think that just goes to show you how good of a team, like an Auburn, like a Duke, and like some of these these high ranking positions throughout the country, high ranking teams throughout the country. I really think that Ole Miss could make some noise, but if they go out and they build a house with all the bricks they shot today, obviously they're going to get bounced pretty quick. The seeding is big because you look at 5-12. You want to stay out of that 9, 8, 9 bracket area. But, we'll see. They play really good defense. If Dia's shooting the ball and playing down low like we've seen him play, and Sean Padula can shoot the ball better than he has, they've got a shot. But if neither of those guys play well offensively, it doesn't really matter how well they play defensively. They're not going to win the game.
Brad, you were really nice to do this. By the way overdressed for this show.
Only for you, George.
Yes, I understand that. I'll see you tonight. Save me a seat.
Look forward to it. See you then.
Brad Logan, he is as inside the Rebels, which, by the way, is the name of what he's involved in. He's as inside as it gets.
Yeah, he does a really good job covering Ole Miss. Been doing it for a while. It was good to see him yesterday. And Ole Miss, they gave Auburn a fight. I mean, that they were in that game for the entirety. But like Brad said, Auburn's a team that could win it all.
If you said to me, Ole Miss will get to the second weekend, I wouldn't be shocked. There are about 10 teams in the SEC right now that are going to get in, that it wouldn't shock me if they made it to the second weekend. Yeah. After the break, we'll get you a March Madness scoreboard update, and then we're going to learn some things about a Nashville tradition that I may know some of, Billy, you may know some of, but this group knows all of it. We're talking about the Iroquois Steeplechase when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at BridgestoneArena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank and Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank and Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Manufacturing and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Happy game day, Preds fans. The Predators begin a Southern California road back-to-back tonight at 9 o'clock in Anaheim against the Mighty Ducks. Radio pregame coverage begins at 8 before Pete Weber and Hal Gill have the call at 9.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Incredibly busy Friday afternoon with all the hoops. We have a late final on Middle's game in Conference USA. Let's get this March Madness update with Billy Derrick.
Yeah, it's brought to you by Kentucky and Gonzaga. When these two national powers square off, Bridgestone Arena will be packed next season, Friday, December the 5th. Tickets on sale now at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. George, you are correct. Tough deal for Middle in Huntsville in the Conference USA semifinal. They don't even get a shot off in the final seconds, and they fall to Jacksonville State 70-68. They had 14 seconds to work with and didn't get a shot off. So the Blue Raiders fall, and their season ends at 22-11 overall. So unfortunate end to the Blue Raiders season. Earlier today in Nashville here at Bridgestone Arena, Auburn took down Ole Miss 62-57. They await the winner of Tennessee and Texas going on right now. Tennessee starting to extend their lead. They lead the Longhorns 64-50 with 10 minutes to play in that one. So it looks like it'll be Tennessee and Auburn tomorrow. Got a couple of games at Bridgestone tonight. Michigan State beat Oregon earlier today 74-64 in the Big Ten. Memphis beats Wichita State 83-80 in the AAC. Wisconsin over UCLA 86-70. Liberty beats Kennesaw State 81-79. They will play Jacksonville State tomorrow in the Conference USA final. Some games, other games going on right now. Tulane leads Florida Atlantic 44-36 in the AAC, and George Mason and George Washington tied at 15 in the A10.
Okay. Tough way for Middle season to end. Who knows? Maybe there can be some postseason, but right now, that's probably a bad consolation prize.
It's tough.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do my best to play dumb a little bit because over the years, I've been, like a lot of Nashvillians, a frequent visitor to the Iroquois Steeplechase. It is a blast. But for new people who are in the market, who are listening to this, I'm going to play dumb. And you'll say, well, George, you're pretty good at that. But nonetheless, I'm going to do that because I want, in particular, folks that are new to the area to get a real idea of how cool this event is. Dwight Hall is the chairman of this year's Iroquois. He's also a 1977 winner of the big event. Autumn Eklund is the chief marketing officer. I almost botched that. By the way, let me just say up front, y'all's first really good decision. This is a shameless plug for my friend Kim Detweiler Burton. She's the best.
Yes, she is very much so. We love Kim.
So let me talk to you all, and I'm going to kind of back away a little bit. I want you to imagine that most of the people hearing this are new to our city. Tell them why they ought to get involved, because it is a terrific event.
Well, the Iroquois Steeplechase we call Nashville's Rite of Spring. This will be our 84th year running. First race was in 1941, and we've run continuously every year, with the exception of 1 year due to World War II and a couple years ago due to COVID. What we like to say, it's an event that has fun, food, fashion, music, and a world-class horse race. There's something for everybody at the Iroquois. For if you're a family, there's family activities. We have a children's area. There's tailgating where you can come, drive your car in, park in the infield, bring your own picnic and libations, get a group together. We have some groups that link probably 3 or 4 tailgating spots and have 30, 40 people of their friends gather around. And then on the hillside, which overlooks the track, where you can see the whole race course, there's several venues. We have one in particular called the Hunt Club. That's an all-inclusive venue. It includes your tickets to the races, all day seated table, all day food and drinks, live TV, and you're right next to, you can walk out and be right next to the track. So for people that aren't familiar with steeplechasing, it's a fun day. Normally, it's pretty. We're going in the spring, and coincidentally, the last couple of days have really kind of started making me think about steeplechasing, and it's right around the corner. What's your favorite part, Autumn?
I think my connection with Steeplechase is because of the mission that we have. I've been a Nashvilleian for a really long time, and when I first started working with Steeplechase, I didn't realize that we were a nonprofit organization that benefits the hospital and a few other beneficiaries in town. So for me, my connection with having my daughter have issues where she needed to stay at the hospital for the first year of her life makes me feel great, because we have this great hospital in our backyard. And personally, I know that at the end of the day, we're having this amazing event where everybody has such a good time for a good cause in our community.
Dwight, when you won it in 77, was it really much different than it will be this year?
Yes, it was. First off, there was no infield. So all the people were basically sitting on the hill behind the boxes. The infield was wide open. It was a different event then. And basically there weren't the various venues for people to enjoy themselves with. There was no tailgating. So it was an entirely different event, and it didn't benefit Children's Hospital at the time. So it certainly has grown. And I think now it is even better than it's ever been.
Autumn, I think one of the things I like about it, because I've gone as a kid in high school, when I was at college at Vandy, and years later, it's really out there for everybody.
Yeah, it really, really is. And Dwight's right. Like, I know it's such a cliche to say, oh, we have something for everybody, but we really, truly do. We have new venues that we've added in the last 4 to 5 years that are targeting different people's needs and desires. We've had focus groups to tell us why they enjoy steeplechase. We've enhanced the luxury and the vibe of it. We have lounge areas that are VIP areas where you can enjoy the race, and you're sitting under a tent with fans all around you on level ground. So we've done a really tremendous job of making sure that we're meeting the needs of everybody that comes, but at the same time continuing to raise awareness for all of our beneficiaries and everyone having a great time.
So again, I'll play dumb here. Autumn, if a person is hearing this, they're new to our community, and they're hearing this, how can they get tickets?
So they can get tickets on our website, and I recommend everybody checking out either the Hunt Club or the Royal 615 Lounge, especially if you're new to Nashville, if you want to meet new people, if you want to socialize and engage. It's definitely more than a horse race. It's a fashion show. People wear their best outfits, and hats are a statement that people wear on race day. So it's really easy. Right now, we still have tickets on sale for our VIP areas, but they go super fast. And now that it's nice outside, our ticket sales have increased dramatically in the last week. So we really want to tell people, if you want that nice experience, go ahead and get the ticket now.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. All of a sudden, we've been 80 degrees plus for 2 or 3 days. Dwight, where do the horses come from? Is there a particular part of the country that is more where this happens than anywhere else?
There really is, George, and the horses that are competing compete on a circuit. Actually, the steeplechasing circuit starts actually next week in Aiken, South Carolina. Goes up and down the East Coast from Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and then to Tennessee. Most of the horses are trained in Virginia, some in North Carolina and South Carolina and Pennsylvania. So most of them are based on the East Coast, and that's kind of the hotbed for steeplechasing. And basically they ship in here for the couple days and get ready for the race. We also, for the last couple of years, have really been lucky to attract foreign horses. We've had horses from England and Ireland the last 2 or 3 years. And we're really hopeful with the size purses we have and the fact that we have the largest race won on the spring circuit and the largest number of total purses on the spring circuit, that will attract 2, 3, or 4 foreign horses. And it's always fun to get the foreign trainers and jockeys over here, hear their accents, and it just really adds some flavor.
Talk to me about purses. This is one area I don't know much.
Well, purses, we have total purses over the 6 races of $535,000. That's divided up. The grade 1 Calvin Hogan Iroquois is worth $250,000 this year, and that is split up. The winner doesn't get the $250,000; he gets 60% of the $250,000, but it's a pretty significant sum. So the fact that we have such large purses means that we're attracting the very best horses that are out there in the United States. And as I said, we're getting some foreign horses too.
Autumn, kind of run me through the entire day if you can. When kind of all of it starts. Obviously, it ends very late in the afternoon. Kind of run through that a little bit.
So our tailgating gates open up early in the morning. We have tailgaters that arrive as early as 8:30 and 9 o'clock, and they're in their spot and they're already having a great time with friends. Our hospitality VIP lounges open up at 10:30, and the anthem singer starts at noon. So the first race is right following that. We have about 45 minutes in between each race where we have, entertainment, stick pony races, fashion contests, tailgating contests. We have a lot of activities throughout the day. We have 3 shopping areas where people can go look around and shop, and food trucks. And then after we have 6 races, about 15 to 20 minutes after the end of the last race, the tents close. We do have one tent that stays open for an after party. It's our Royal 615 tent. It stays open till 7. So for someone who wants to let some of the other individuals in the traffic get out of the way, we encourage people to check out that tent as well. And you can hang out for a little bit longer and then leave after everybody else has left.
Okay, for both of you, anything that I've left out that you want to put out there?
So I think it's a great time just for, you talked about new to Nashville people. It really is a unique experience. I would encourage people that haven't been to come see, bring your family. There's something for everybody. And I think you'll find that to get out and enjoy a beautiful day in a beautiful park. It's an experience that's unlike many others.
Sounded like the Masters there for a second.
Yeah.
Well said. Autumn, anything you want to leave us with?
No, it's just a fantastic event. Just like Dwight said, I can't imagine working for a better company and a better cause in Nashville. And I just want to see everybody have a good time and see y'all there on May 10th.
Listen, thank you both as we get closer to race day. Would love to have you back on. Dwight, thank you for taking the time. Autumn, same with you as well.
Thank you for having
Thank
us, and
you.
we'd love to come back on, and we hope
Yeah.
we can get you out on race day.
You know what? I look forward to that. You can take that one to the bank. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Dwight Hall, who is the chairman of this year's event, and to Autumn Eklund, who is heavily involved. And I thought she said it really well when it came to a young child of hers, that there's some real benefits charity-wise to what's going on. If you're new to Nashville, Middle Tennessee, put May 10th down on the calendar. The odds are really good that the weather will be good and you will really enjoy it. After the break, a few thoughts as we close in on Selection Sunday. God, I cannot believe we are this close. This is 94.9, The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Attention college basketball fans. Kentucky and Gonzaga will square off Friday night, December the 5th at Bridgestone Arena, and you won't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale to the public at this very moment at bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. It's two of the best programs in all of college basketball, and they're playing right in the heart of downtown Nashville. Act now. Tickets will be gone shortly, so you better act accordingly. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today. PancoastBenefits.com or call them at 615-292-3400. JB's Poorhouse in Hermitage has one of the best sports bar setups around, and it'll play host to the George Plaster Show on Thursday, March the 20th. That's the first full day of March Madness. Large TVs, great hoops, terrific food, and friendly service. It's what JB's Poorhouse is all about. See you on March 20th for a day full of what I call adult spring break.
Sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Before the end of the show, we'll get you one more March Madness scoreboard update. It sure looks like Tennessee and Auburn are going to play tomorrow at noon at Bridgestone. Tennessee is up 14 at the moment and kind of in cruise control against a Texas team that looks a little bit on the tired side to me.
Yeah, they look gassed, and that was not hard to predict for them. They played well in the tournament, and we'll see if they get in. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see if they get into the big dance.
They might be the 14th out of 14. Who knows?
Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, we could talk about what Lenardi, has up there right now all we want, but, you really don't know what the committee is going to value and what ultimately they're going to do. You just got to wait and see.
So, Billy, you and Kerry Keating got into a conversation earlier that I want to backtrack to, and it involves sports gambling and what's going on the college level. And so far, it really has not gotten the kind of attention, and Kerry pointed this out, that I think it would get if you named a school in a Power 4.
Yeah.
Power 5. North Carolina A&T, that's obviously not there. Eastern Michigan is another one I think that got named. As you hear these investigations go on, what will stop the whole thing cold is when you find out that a player or players has tried to fix a game at the big level.
Yep.
When that happens, right now, everybody's just kind of tap dancing around it. And, I guess that's okay. But you're naive if you don't think at some point all hell's going to break loose. And my opinion is that when you hear at some point, and you're going to at some point hear the talk of a fix.
Yeah.
And if the fix involves schools at the big time level, that is where the whole thing will come crashing down. And then we'll start to get some legislation that says, okay, here's what can be done. Here's what can't be done. The colleges right now are really asking that, for instance, that the side bets, the bets about a certain player having a certain number of points in a game, where you can either say, I think he'll score more or I think he'll score less. It's a new version of over-under. And this is one of the things that I think is going to cause a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to multiple people that have told me that it's rampant right now throughout college basketball, and not just basketball. I mean, imagine we saw what happened with the Alabama coach in baseball. I mean, it's definitely going on in football. We've seen that. But I'm with you. I mean, whenever whenever this hits the Power 4 level, get ready, because that's not going to be pretty. And just look at the story on ESPN. It's over $3 billion is expected to be bet on this year's men's and women's tournament. I mean, did you ever think you'd be saying that?
That's a lot of cabbage.
Yeah. So, I liked how Kerry made the point of, that we're professionalizing amateur sports. It's not amateur anymore. I mean, you're starting to hear coaches, come at their players like Barnes did for Chazanier. We're paying you to take that shot. And the criticism, we talked about Omar Ballo and the DMs he's been getting. I mean, these players are getting paid big time money, and at what point are we going to totally flip to the professional model and how we treat these and talk about these kids? You know, I'm interested to see that too. When does that fully flip? I mean, we get layers and layers deeper into this for it to look like professional sports, and you know, betting's another way that it is just totally shifted it.
Well, to me, what really is going on right now is everybody's got the blinders on and hoping.
Yeah.
The blinders are on with the hope that nothing bad happens. But with each passing story of an investigation, or at Fresno State where 2 or 3 players get held out because of irregularities. And when I say irregularities, it's basically these companies reporting unusual activity. And at some point, it's going to lead to something that's way worse. You just know it is. And when it does, that's probably going to be the moment that all of a sudden everybody takes the blinders off, hear no evil, see no evil, which is what we're in right now.
Yeah.
Nobody will come out and say, look, I'm fully aware that this is going on all over the place. Nobody seems to want to talk about it, but it's happening.
Well, we saw the storm that Brad Bohannon at Alabama created, and that was in college.
Right.
That was in college baseball. But, you know, we really haven't seen it to that big of a level in football or basketball. But it's coming.
For those who don't remember exactly the whole thing, and now I'm trying to think through exactly what all went on in that deal. It involved a betting kiosk of all places at Great American Small Park in Cincinnati, home of the Cincinnati Reds. And it's a little bit ironic because here Major League Baseball has banned the all-time hit leader, the late Pete Rose, and yet they're allowing betting kiosks at the ballpark. That seems a little two-faced to me.
Yeah, why it ever happened there? I mean, that's got to be the most random
ironic
situation. It is pretty ironic, but the Alabama baseball coach is messaging with this guy in Cincinnati at a kiosk at Great American Ballpark. I mean, that I don't think that's ever going to happen again. But you know, like you said, it's only a matter of time for something like that to take place in football or basketball. I mean, the level that I'm hearing that it's going on in basketball, it's bound to come up.
Well, you've got all these various games, and it's really easy to create over-unders. You know, how many points is Chaz Lanier going to have?
Yep.
And, you know, if you think about as great a player as he is, he's had a wide range of scoring nights.
Yeah.
Because he operates at the 3-point line. And on the nights where he's hot, he puts up huge numbers. And, oh, by the way, when he does, Tennessee plays really well, as they're doing today. And on the nights where he doesn't, I don't think they're nearly as good. And so there's a lot of pressure on that young man to deliver. For instance, okay, they're going to play Auburn tomorrow, and there's probably a 1 seed on the line for Tennessee. That's a lot of pressure, especially when you can identify one player and say how he plays is ultimately going to determine whether they win or not.
Well, that's not a spot you want to be in.
No, but don't you think it is?
No, it's absolutely true.
What it is.
It's absolutely true. When Chaz Lanier is on and scoring more than 20 points, I would love to know what Tennessee's record is.
What's he got today?
I'm not sure, but he's got.
It was 19 at halftime.
Yeah, he's got a bunch. I mean, he's been on it today, and he really struggled. He's got 22. He really struggled in the last game against Texas, but when he's on and Ziegler is playing at his best, you've got Meshack. This is a really, really dangerous Tennessee team.
Anyway, just one person's opinion that when we get to a point where we hear the word fix at a high level kind of school, not North Carolina, AT&T, the right choice, or Eastern Michigan, but one of the big boys, that's when the hear no evil, see no evil will stop cold.
Yep.
We'll go to the break. Plaster bet of the day. How ironic that that comes next. And then Billy will have one final March Madness scoreboard update. This is 94.9, The Fan.
The game is on the road as the SEC tournament continues in Nashville. Join us live from the pub in the Gulch from 9 to 6 p.m. Come watch some of the games with all of us. Your sports live here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
The SEC tournament is here, and so is this week's Nashville's best deal of the week from Boom Ba's Pizza and Watch Bar. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at 949thefam.com/deals. But hurry, supplies won't last. With wall-to-wall TVs, ice-cold drinks, and mouth-watering pizza, Boom Ba's is the best place to catch all the SEC tournament action. Heading to Bridgestone? Stop by Boom Ba's East Nashville, just minutes away and home to the largest TV screen in East Nashville. And don't forget, get half off a $30 gift card now at 949thefam.com/deals while supplies last.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale. Truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Okay.
Spas from Artesia and Catalina and American Select Spas as low as $29.99. All their new patio furniture styles, Hanneman, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale.
That's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pools. 24-foot pools starting as low as $29.99 installed.
Grill, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Show on a Friday, windy Friday in Nashville with storms coming early tomorrow morning. So hopefully everybody stays safe out there. Tennessee leading Texas 78-65 with 1:43 to play. So it looks like it'll be the Vols and the Auburn Tigers tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. We'll take a look at the other scores around the country in just a second. But first, bet of the day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. We take a look at what happened last night, see if it was a little bit of a better performance for Georgia. It was a little bit better. Arizona -2.5 worked, but Mississippi State +3.5 did not cover. And then Kentucky -6.5 certainly didn't cover. The Cats end up winning by 1.
So I'm going to go with 3 plays tonight. And to quote my friend Larry Schmitto, maybe it's so that I can brag about one that actually works. It's been a little bit of a tough week. Here we go. Let's start out in the Big 12. I really like Texas Tech. I think that they are one of those teams that people better look out for. They are for real. Grant McCaslin has done a terrific job out there, and you need no further proof of it than this was a team that went to Houston and beat the Cougars on their court.
Yeah.
I think they're better than Arizona. I think there's a tier in the Big 12 that includes Texas Tech at the top. I don't think Arizona is quite there, and I definitely don't think Kansas is there. Taking Texas Tech minus the 2.5. Tough game tonight in the ACC. This is one with 2 really good teams. Clemson, they go below the radar a lot because, let's face it, it's a football school. But I am taking Clemson tonight, -1 against Louisville, and I can't give you a good reason other than it's in Charlotte. More of a home court for Clemson than it would be for Louisville. This won't be easy. This will be a really good game. And finally, I'm going Mountain West. New Mexico is the best team in that league. Boise is very good, but they're not to that level of good. Tyson, gosh, how do I say his last name? Look him up real quick, Billy. The kid at he's got a funny last name that starts with a G. See if you can say
For who?
For Boise. Tyson Degenhardt. Really good player for Boise, but New Mexico's better. Take the Lobos minus the 2 and cash in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got Texas Tech, Clemson, and New Mexico. Small spreads as you get deeper into these conference tournaments, man.
Okay, you got final March Madness update?
I do. It's brought to you by Kentucky and Gonzaga coming up December 5th at Bridgestone Arena. Tickets on sale now, bridgestonearena.com and on the Ticketmaster app. Game's going on right now. Like I mentioned, Tennessee leading Texas 78-69. It's actually 79-69 with 48 seconds left. So Tennessee will advance to play Auburn tomorrow. Some other finals from today. In the Conference USA, Liberty beats Kennesaw State 81-79. They will play Jacksonville State tomorrow after the Jacksonville State team MTSU just moments ago. VCU takes down St. Bonaventure 76-59 in the A10. Wisconsin over UCLA 86-70 in the Big Ten. Memphis takes down Wichita State 83-80 in the AAC. Michigan State beats Oregon 74-64. As we mentioned earlier, Auburn beats Ole Miss 62-57. And the Tigers and the Vols will get together tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. Also later today, down there, we've got Missouri and Florida coming up here, I would guess, in about an hour or so for the next session. And then Alabama, Kentucky tonight. That'll be a really entertaining game.
I'm not convinced Kentucky is at that level.
Well, I mean, I know they don't have Lamont Butler, but when they played at Rupp Arena, that was a high-scoring game. I think Kentucky lost
like 102-97.
Lost by 5.
Yeah.
Kentucky can run with them. They're going to have to hit their threes tonight and hit a lot of them. Where they obviously struggled when they played in Tuscaloosa. But yeah, I don't. Good thing is, they got their win. They got their first win in the SEC tournament since 2019, and I think Kentucky fans will be okay and satisfied because they got a win last night. But maybe the crowd pulls them through tonight.
So if you're headed over there, first of all, they have moved the timeline of when the big storms get in here tomorrow by an hour. They're saying 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. will be the first batch of it. But there is wave after wave, if they're right, of really heavy stuff. We're going to end up being under tornado watches. Hopefully not tornado warnings, but you might tomorrow want to keep a radio handy or some sort of a weather device, and because it's going to get hairy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're done for today. Billy, have a good weekend.
You too, George.
I will. See all of you Monday. We'll have the field set for the NCAA tournament.